think animated films get dismissed too easily. It's simple to label them as kids' films, to not really take them seriously. But if you actually stop and pay attention, treat them with the same respect as anything else, you start to notice something deeper. Ratatouille is a perfect example of that. On the surface, it's a film about a rat that can cook, but look a little closer and it becomes something else entirely. Something about obsession, about loneliness, about trying to prove you deserve to be where you are. But either way, let's dive into this incredible film and see what's really going on underneath it. At a glance, Ratatouille is pretty simple. It's a story about a rat that wants to cook, meets a guy who can't, and together they somehow make it work. And yeah, that's the plot. But it's also kind of missing the point, because Remy isn't just someone who enjoys cooking, he's completely obsessed with it. From the very beginning, it's clear to see that he's not like the other rats. Whilst they're focused on survival, he's focused on flavour, on combinations, on creating something better. There's that moment quite early in the film where he's describing food, and it's not shown like food, it's shown as colours and shapes and movement, almost like music or paintings. And that's the shift that the film makes. Cooking stops being something practical and becomes something expressive. The world of the film makes food seem like it's the most important thing in the world. The opening exposition about Chef Gusteau's death, the controlled chaos of the kitchens, the critics being the life or death of a chef. It's all shown as the most important thing, and it's what drives the story, what motivates all actions. It's the core. And the kitchen isn't just a workplace, it's a studio. Remy isn't trying to feed people, he's trying to create something meaningful, something memorable, bringing back memories, inspiring others, but most of all, doing what he loves. That's why he risks everything for it. He leaves his family, puts himself in constant danger. He chases something that realistically he can never fully have. And that's not really a kid's film idea. That's the mindset of an artist. That need to make something good, even when it doesn't make sense. Even when it isolates you, even when no one else around you really understands why it matters. And the film never simplifies that. It doesn't turn his obsession into a cute trait. It treats it seriously. It treats it with respect. Because without that obsession, there is no story. And maybe, more importantly, there is no art. It's not just something that he wants to do, it's something that he has to do. And that's where it all starts to change. Because the moment something becomes that important, it stops being easy to share it with other people. It stops being something that fits neatly into the world around you. And instead, it starts to separate you from the world. And that's exactly where Remy ends up, completely alone. Because the thing that makes him special is also the thing that isolates him. He doesn't belong with the other rats. They don't understand him. To them, food is survival. To him, it's art. But he can't belong with the humans either. No matter how talented he is, no matter how much he understands their world, he's still something that isn't supposed to be there. So he exists in this weird sort of purgatory space in between. Close enough to see the life that he wants, but never close enough to actually live it. And the film reinforces that constantly. He's always watching from a distance, hiding in ceilings, behind walls, under hats. Even when he's the center of everything, he's never really seen. And that's what makes the success feel different. Because when things start going well, when the restaurant takes off, Remy doesn't get recognition, he doesn't get validation, he doesn't even get to exist. Everything he creates has to be filtered through someone else. Linguini becomes the face, Linguini gets the credit, Linguini gets the life that Remy actually wants. And Remy just stays hidden, which turns the whole idea of success into something slightly uncomfortable. Because what's the point of being great at something if you can never actually be known for it? And again, that's not really a kid's film idea. That's something much more specific. That feeling of being capable of something, but completely out of place at the same time. Of knowing that you have something more to offer, but not having a way to exist in the space where it matters. And the film doesn't solve that quickly. It lets it sit. It lets it feel frustrating, isolating, unfair. Because for Remy, and for a lot of people, talent doesn't lead to belonging. If anything, it makes it harder. So instead, Remy finds a workaround. If he can't exist in that world openly, he'll find a way to exist in it indirectly. And that's where Linguini comes in. If you're enjoying this video so far, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. It helps a ton. Now, back to it. On the surface, it's played for comedy. A rat pulling someone's hair to control them in the kitchen is a ridiculous idea. But underneath that, it's doing something much more interesting. Because from that point on, everything Remy creates is filtered through someone else. He's the talent, but he's not the one that's being seen. Linguini becomes the face, the voice, the person that the world recognizes. And Remy is stuck underneath it all, hidden, anonymous. It's a performance. Because the only way Remy is allowed to succeed is by pretending to be something that he's not. And the film leans into that more than you'd expect. The better things get, the more distance there is between who's creating the work and who's being credited for it. Success doesn't fix the problem, it actually makes it worse. Because now there's something to lose. Now the lie has to be maintained. And it creates this constant tension running through the film. At any moment it could fall apart. At any moment he could be exposed. And if that happens, it's not just failure, it's rejection. Complete rejection from the world he's been trying to be a part of this entire time. So he keeps going. He keeps hiding, he keeps controlling, he keeps performing. Not because he wants to, but because it's the only way that this works. And that's where the film gets uncomfortably real. Because this idea of doing something meaningful, but not being able to attach your name to it, of watching someone else live the life that should be yours, of feeling like a fraud even when you're the one who's doing the work, that's not a kids' film concept. That's something that a lot of people recognize. And again, the film doesn't simplify it. It lets it be messy. It lets it be frustrating. Because Remy isn't just trying to succeed anymore. He's trying to exist. And then the film introduces someone who cuts through all of it, Anton Ego. At first he feels almost exaggerated, cold, distant, impossible to please. He doesn't create anything, he judges. He sits above it all and decides what's worth something and what isn't. And in a film so focused on creation, that makes him feel almost like the antagonist. But I'd argue he's not. He's something a lot more specific than that. He represents criticism, not just in food, but in art as a whole. Because up until this point, everything we've seen has been from the perspective of the creator. The obsession, the loneliness, the need to prove yourself. Ego is the other side of that, the person who decides whether any of it matters. And the film doesn't treat that lightly. It doesn't say critics are wrong or that they don't understand. If anything, it gives him the final word. And that's what makes his moment so important. Because when Ego finally tastes Remy's food, everything changes. Not in some over-the-top dramatic way, but quietly. He's taken back to something simple, a memory, a feeling. And for the first time, all of that distance disappears. The critic disappears. And what's left is just someone experiencing something real. And that's the point that the film has been building towards the entire time. That art, whether it's food, film, anything, isn't just about technical skill or perfection or status. It's about connection, about making someone feel something. And all that leads into his final monologue, his final writing on Gusteau's restaurant, which isn't just a conclusion to the film, it's a statement about creativity. The idea that criticism is easy, that standing on the outside, judging the work of others carries very little risk. But creating something, putting something out into the world, that's where the real vulnerability is. And yet, at the same time, criticism still matters, because a great critic isn't just someone who tears things down, but someone who recognizes when something genuine appears, someone who's willing to put their reputation on the line to defend something unexpected. And that's why his final line matters so much. Not everyone can become a great artist, but a great artist can come from anywhere. It's not saying everyone is special, it's saying that greatness is unpredictable, that it can come from the places that we overlook, ignore and dismiss. A rat in a kitchen, someone who doesn't belong, someone who had no right to be there in the first place. And in that moment, everything Remy has been struggling with finally means something, because he doesn't need to fit in. He doesn't need to be accepted in the traditional sense. He just needs to create something real enough that even someone like Ego can't ignore it. And that's what makes this feel less like a kid's film and more like a film about what it means to create anything at all. And there lies what the film is really about: creativity, hope, and struggle. But there's more than just that. You could spend hours diving into every little piece of the film. The themes of France, class, social divide, gender roles, everything. It all adds up, and once you start thinking about them, it's impossible to not notice them. A quote-unquote kids film that has more depth than most films ever made. And it's not forced depth, it's rightfully there. It adds to the film. And that's where the filmmakers come in, because films don't just end up like this by chance. They're shaped by the people behind them, and in this case, Brad Bird. The more you look at his work, the more familiar all of this starts to feel, because this isn't the first time he's told a story like this. If you look at The Incredibles, it's about hiding what makes you exceptional, being forced to suppress it, blend in, be normal. And Ratatouille almost feels like the other side of this. Not hiding your talent, but not being able to express it at all. Having something real to offer, but no place in the world where it's allowed to exist. And that's what makes this film feel so specific, because it doesn't treat talent like something fun or exciting. It treats it like something complicated, something isolating, frustrating, unfair, something that doesn't guarantee success or recognition or even a place to belong. And that's not a typical animated film perspective. That feels personal, like it's coming from someone who understands what it's like to care deeply about what you make, and to know that not everyone is going to see it the same way. And maybe that's why Ratatouille resonates the way it does, because underneath the humour and the concept and the animation, it's coming from a real place. A film about creation, made by someone who clearly cares about it. And when you look at it through that lens, it stops being just a great animated film and starts to feel like something much more deliberate. Brad Bird has managed to master walking the line between films that are enjoyable and loved by children, and then films that can be so moving and important to everyone else. And maybe that's why films like Ratatouille stick with people the way they do, because they're not just easy to watch, they're easy to overlook. It's simple to see the surface, the humour, the concept, the fact that it's animated, and then just stop there. But when you actually take a step back and you treat it like you would any other film, you start to see something else entirely. A story about obsession, isolation, about creating something meaningful in a world that doesn't really have a place for you. And that's not limited to animation. That's something a lot of people understand, maybe more than they realise. Because at its core, this isn't a film about cooking. It's about a need to create, the need to be seen, and the fear that you might never be, and the risk of putting something out into the world anyway. Maybe that's why it works, because it doesn't pretend that any of this is easy. It just shows you that it's worth it.